My beginning in my dance was as ballet, studying with Crevier that was coming from England. And that was in the beginning of the 40s. It's a little late, huh? It's a little long ago. Around 17, 18, I decided, 17, that I want to come to New York to study because somebody came from New York, which was, what was her name? A great modern dancer was coming to give master class. I took the master class, and then she realized that I knew a lot because I was taking already class with Elizabeth Lees, which was already somebody teaching modern dance in those years. And so she said, so she saw me in a class, and she says, she come to me and she said, what do you want to do? You know, I was 17, at the beginning of the 17. So I said, I want to be a dancer. Well, she says, don't stay here, go to New York. So my brother and my sister, older sister, were already in New York, so living there. So I said, I'm going to New York. So that's when I came to New York. Elizabeth Lee said to me, go to Anya Home. Because, of course, so I went to Anya Home, and she was a percussionist extraordinaire. So it was really an interesting thing. Then later, Anya left New York to teach in the university somewhere. Anyway, I followed with Nikolai and Mary Anthony. But then I left because I had to go to Paris. Because the man I was in love with, that was my great love of those years, he was finishing his medical and he was going to study psychoanalysis. In those years, even in New York, was very fashionable. Everybody, they wanted to. We were always listening to the Freud story, reading about the dreams and blah, blah. So I left for Paris, and then in Paris, I realized that there was no modern dance at that point, you know, very, nothing was happening there. But at one point I said, well, I want to do a show. So one of the Martha Graham dancer, Hélène Megui, came to Paris, and she was giving a technical show. It was just the technique of Martha Graham that she was doing. So I went to see it, and I said, gee whiz, because I knew her from the dance, because when I was in New York for 3 years, I was following all the dance, and of course Martha Graham, but I didn't want to teach, didn't want to go to Martha Graham. She was too much already. I want to be more free than just having those style things. So I said, I want to do a show. And Riopel was saying, he said, I will do, and then Pierre Mercure came. And Pierre Mercure was the musician that used to compose for me and François Sullivan. So he said, well, we're all going to help you. So I said, Hélène Megui, would you like to? She said, I'm not allowed to. Martha won't let me dance with somebody that is not part of the Martha Graham's style company. Too bad. So but she came to see the show. And the show was with Riopel and Pierre Mercure, and I had 5 musicians. I was the only dancer. So anyway, it started like that, and then Riopel was asking me, do you have a little bit of money to do the show? Because we did it at the American Club, because there they had a theater. And he said to me, we will give you the theater free as long as you can teach, because they are asking for teaching. And in New York, I used to replace Mary Anthony when she would be sick, and so to teach already. So I said, yeah, I can teach. So I teach there a little bit, and then I had the theater. So then Riopelle said, okay, I will do some diapo, you know, and I will produce it on the wall in the back, so we don't need so much money. But then he saw the thing and he thought it was too static to see just the painting. So he took some of his hair and he puts it in the lantern, so then it starts to heat, so it melts, you know, and so the painting was moving. It was such a fabulous show because of him. At the beginning, I was pregnant from my first child, then after my second child. But then I realized that I want to go really and work a lot. So Françoise Riopelle, that was also dancing in Paris, and then separating from Riopelle, that's when he met with Mitchell. John Mitchell. So she came back to live in Montreal, and then she said, well, let's start a school and let's do something. So that's how it happened. So then I didn't like, she was too much in, she was not enough, didn't know enough about dancing. She was more about object, and then doing all sort of decor and things like that. And I was more interested in going back to the reality of the real movement, gesture, even in contemporary. So things started in 1965, 68, 66, after when I found my groupe de la Place Royale. And then that's when Vincent came, and then and he brought me Peter Bonham, that was in Les Grands, and the ballet people, but also I was having a school, so I was teaching, and so it started that way. So I was interested in the contemporary music, so I used all the musicians that were Murray Schaeffer, Serge Garand, Gilles Tremblay, you know, all those people. So I was creating with their music. So, and then I knew all the artists from Bourdieu and all those, les automatistes. So I was using them to make my sets and everything. That's why it was so new and unusual, you know, for what was happening in Montreal at that point. I think we were coming from nothing in a way, I mean, as an arts. So when it started, it didn't start from influences so much. It has to start from our own creativity. But because we were very stimulated from all sort of things, the freshness of the creation that we were all coming out from us stimulate each other, so because we were always meeting each other. So, I mean, it was a time where we were not having argument, fight, or it was a really a great communication with all kinds of artists. If you ask me at my age, how come I still want to create things like that? Well, I do that because I found the generation of Marc Boivin, Louise Bédard, Sylvain Marc, those people that are the generation that I know so well, that I had followed also. When the maturity that they have, and they're in the 60s, of course, and the late 50s and the 60s, but the maturity that they have when they come and work, it is such a stimulation. When you come and you try to interpret one of my movements that I do, I don't want an emotion to be too great. I want the sensibility of the movement as well. I said, that's why I could say, for me, the space, the light, the shape, the quality of the movement is more interesting than the emotion